Today's collectible spot, we are having a look at the Diamond Select Toys, Star Trek, Starship Legends, the U.S.S. Excelsior NCC-2000. A ship class that was also used, of course, for the Enterprise B, but Spot always kind of thinks, when I think of the U.S.S. Excelsior, I usually think of this starship more so than the U.S.S. Enterprise B. The Enterprise B was really only used in Star Trek Generations, but this ship I always found was more made famous by Captain Sulu, to which this ship is based from. Features all the following phrases and sound effects: Captain's Log, U.S.S. Excelsior, Hikaru Sulu commanding, on screen, magnify, shields, damage report, don't tell me what that was, any meteor shower, helm engage, flyer apart then, shields up, alright, now we've given them something else to shoot at, target that explosion and fire, nice to see you in action one more time, Captain Kirk, and then the sound effects of engines, alerts, and weapons. Like with other Starship Legends from Diamond Select Toys, on the back you get a brief kind of stats on the ship itself. So the Excelsior is 467 meters in length, 34 decks, 607 crew, and max speed warp point 9.3. The U.S.S. Excelsior was the first in the new class of Federation starship, larger than the existing Constitution class. It was originally intended to possess trans-warp drive, making it capable of greater speed than any other Federation vessel. But the great experiment ultimately failed after a series of trials under its first commander, Captain Styles. Refitted with standard warp engines, the Excelsior went into service in 2290 under the command of Captain Hikaru Sulu, formerly of the U.S.S. Enterprise. Following the ship's initial 3-year scientific mission, the Excelsior was involved in the battle at Kinnemer against an experimental new Klingon bird of prey. With a new design deemed a success, new ships in this class were green-lit, including the new U.S.S. Enterprise, Enterprise B, and the Excelsior class soon became one of the most widely used designs in Starfleet, remaining in service for nearly a century. To check out more, though, from Star Trek and the other pieces that they're producing, you can head over to www.diamondselecttoys.com. Spot's going to take a break and get this opened up, and when we come back, we're going to get a better look at the Diamond Select Toys, Star Trek, Starship Legends, the U.S.S. Excelsior, NCC-2000. Don't go anywhere, guys. There's more heading your way. Stay tuned. With the Excelsior out of packaging, two things that you'll get. Obviously, you'll get the main ship, but you'll also get yourself a really neat display stand. The display stand has varied depending on what starship you pick up. Some relied more on a classic insignia, some of them a little bit different as well. This is clearly more a movie logo, and then you've got the curved base with the peg at the top. Other Starship Legends relied on a ball joint. I'm glad ships like the Excelsior here have more of a peg point versus the ball joint. Ball joint's a little harder sometimes to get onto the starship, but really a nice looking display stand. Default out of packaging, the Excelsior also is in try-me mode. In other words, when you press the button on the Excelsior, it will only play one phrase again and again. To change it, so flip it upside down, and right next to the battery compartment where you need to change the batteries, there is a switch. You want to change it from try to play, just like that, and then you'll have full access to all the voice clips as well as all the sound effects. The U.S.S. Excelsior is a gorgeous display piece and pretty much identical to the U.S.S. Enterprise B that I believe I've actually already done a review of. But for me, like, my heart really when it comes to this class of vessel, I've always preferred it more as the Excelsior than I did the Enterprise B. Yes, the Enterprise B really was the ship that Kirk allegedly died on, but for me, I always just think of it more so as the Excelsior. because it both appeared in, I guess, Star Trek 3, Search for Spock, as it almost pursued the escaping Enterprise, but also played a bigger role in Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, where both it as well as the Enterprise A battled the cloaked bird of prey. So it was also nice to see Sulu finally getting a chance to be captain versus just being a helmsman. So it was a really nice way for a character such as Sulu to get a change of pace. As it goes, though, for the Starship, it's extremely detailed. It's got a bigger hull than the other Enterprises. Now, granted, it's smaller. This, by scale, is smaller than, say, the Enterprise A and the classic Enterprise that we've looked at before. It couldn't, I guess, be bigger. You know, 1-to-1, if it was the 1-to-1 scale, it would be bigger than the Constitution class. But for something you could display on a shelf, they, of course, have to kind of scale it down a little bit. The hull, one thing that's probably a more obvious sight with the Excelsior, and for that matter, the Enterprise A, or the Enterprise B, was the bigger hull. Like this section right here, though, it did trail out, it did kind of get thinner as it got to the back, but like it had a really big front hull. The deflector dish on the front there, a smaller, it seemed by proportion, a smaller saucer section, but like the much longer nacelles. Details very cleanly put on here. The U.S.S. Excelsior NCC-2000 or 2000. Paint is very clean as well. It's got that grayer look to it that the Enterprise NCC-1701 Wrath of Khan version that we looked at didn't have, and I kind of wish it was more like this kind of color. With this darker off-white, you've got the pastel blue in there as well, the beige, and of course the red outlines going on there as well. This beige carries over to the main body of the hull, and then you've got the blue little accents on the back there as well. Very much smaller, I guess proportionately it's accurate to the ship, but a much smaller a cargo bay, or what's the word I'm looking for? The ship docking station, I guess, smaller at the back than the Constitution class. But again, Constitution class would be a smaller ship, so you know. But it's a really, really nice looking piece, and it easily pegs in. There's that little peg point on the underside of the ship. You take that and you clip it into the underside of the display stand, and there you've got a great way to display the piece. It does allow for a little bit of movement. You can kind of slightly pivot it, but with this particular peg point, it doesn't have as much options to move as it being a ball joint, but I find it's a lot easier to peg it into place. So, of course, this would be a lights and sounds Starship, so we will press the button on the saucer section here, and I'll show you guys the lights as well as the sounds. Now, Spot's already looked at the Enterprise B, and it would have had completely different sound effects. I think the sound effects were roughly the same, but the voice clips would be, quite a bit different. This would have Sulu as captain. So to press the button, not only will you hear the sounds, but you should see all the other things light up as well. We'll press the button on the top.
Captain's log, U.S.S. Excelsior. Hikaru Sulu commanding.
The top section of the saucer section will light up a nice bright blue. The nacelles will light up a nice bright blue. And then the front deflector dish, which for some reason I drew a complete blank when reviewing the Enterprise B or Enterprise A and the Wrath of Khan. For some reason I keep drawing a blank when it came to that, but that also lights up a nice bright blue as well. You'll also see, and you probably missed it, the back thrusters of the saucer section also light up a nice bright red.
On screen, magnify.
What we'll do, let's turn off the lights and see how cool this looks with lights off. And we'll press the button again on the saucer section to activate the lights and sounds. And especially in the dark, these nacelles light up the main hull of the ship very nicely in that bright blue color. And pressing the button again.
Don't tell me that was any meteor shower.
Diamond Select once again has created an incredible looking Starship in a smaller, easy to display piece. Truthfully, it's still not one of my favorite Starships. My favorite still is the Enterprise A, but both this and then equally so the Enterprise B have been done very, very well. Now, granted, even though it is roughly about the same Starship, because they do have two different sound effects and voice clips in it, I'm very happy to have them side by side. Still, the Excelsior, I think, has a softer spot in my heart, just because I also really love Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. And having the two of the starships side by side battling the bird of prey was an awesome scene to be watching. Today's collectible spot was having a look at the Diamond Select Starship Legends, the U.S.S. Excelsior, made famous in Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more collectible spots heading your way. Thanks for watching as you always do. I'll see you guys next time.